If you want the gift that really keeps on giving, buy an old BMW. Unfortunately, they're kind of garbage gift givers because all they give is misery. This is the coolant level sensor from my E46, and this was replaced along with the rest of my cooling system just last month. And if you'll remember, I had to replace the brand new upper coolant hose due to an apparent manufacturing defect. Well, that was not the only thing, because I still had low coolant light coming on and off after that, and I thought, oh well, it's probably just an air bubble. That sort of thing happens when you crack open the cooling system, and it's notoriously difficult to deal with air bubbles on these cars. You have to jack the nose of the car way up and do a whole bunch of, you know, putting caps on and taking caps off and all that sort of thing. It's a bit of a mess. Well, it turns out that the whole time the problem was just this sensor. And a quick trip to Johnny the Car Ninjas, he was kind enough to give me a few spare sensors that he had laying around. I just popped one in and hey, no more coolant light. So that is one problem taken care of. And today we're going to take care of a couple other problems and give this car a little bit of a spa day, so hopefully it treats me better in the future. Let's talk about vacuum leaks for a minute. They're the bane of any car's existence, and definitely not limited to BMWs. I noticed that my car was idling a bit rough, so I got my scan tool out and I made sure to take a look at my fuel trims. Now, fuel trimming is what happens when a car runs in closed loop. And I guess now I need to explain closed loop. Closed loop is when a car runs based on the input from the O2 sensors. It makes what it thinks are the correct adjustments based on the mass airflow sensor and mass air pressure sensor, and it's referencing its tables. It's referencing the mass airflow sensor, the mass air pressure sensor, coolant temp sensor, all that other stuff, and it's coming up with it's coming up with what it thinks is the correct amount of fuel to inject and engine timing and all that other stuff. And then the O2 sensors double check that and can supply corrections. So if you have a vacuum leak, the engine is taking in more air than it thinks, and so it will be running lean. And the O2 sensors will take note of this and say, hey, you're running lean, and the car will apply a positive fuel trim. This car had a 30% positive fuel trim. That's a lot. That's a big trim. And I'm actually running into the same issue on the Buick, but for completely different reasons. It's not a vacuum leak on that one. So clearly I had a problem here. So I did a bit of poking around, and one thing that I found was on the back of the intake manifold, a couple of vacuum caps had fallen off. Something else that I found was this thing here. This is the DISA, and DISA, or DISA, D-I-S-A, I don't know, and that stands for I have no idea, and it does something. It's a flap in the intake, has something to do with variable length intake runners, I think, and what can happen is there's an O-ring where this goes into the intake manifold, and those can leak. And this one I can very clearly hear hissing from here, and when I pulled it out, it had the original molded in O-ring, you know, not a real O-ring. So we're going to take this out and we're going to service it. The rest of the DISA unit is actually in fantastic shape, which is kind of rare. These tend to fail. The valve will get all kind of loose and flappy and can come apart and actually end up with hard parts going into your engine, which is a bad thing. So we're just going to take it out, put in a new O-ring, and I'll show you what it looks like, and then away we go. Hopefully my fuel trims will be better. After putting on those caps back there, my fuel trims went down from 30 something to like 14 something. Anything below 10 is all right. That's within acceptable levels. So I'm hoping to get down within that 10 range with this. Now, I have what you might refer to as a motivational issue. So this is the car that I'm taking to go get lunch, and I cannot go get lunch until this is done. And it's 2 o'clock, so I am pretty hungry, so let's get to it. So in order to get to the DISA, we're gonna have to move this intake boot out of the way, and this is the first big asterisk here. Don't do this job unless you have knowledge that your intake boot is in good shape, because once I pry these two clips off, this thing is going to come off and get shoved down there. And if your intake boot is in questionable condition, it will have just torn, and that's a problem. And then just squeeze. There's a little clippy clip here on the back of this connection, like that, and that comes off, and that goes wherever it darn well pleases, because it is a strong independent connection that don't need no man. And then the first of two T40s right there. First one's pretty easy to get to here on the top. The second one, as you will see, is right there. Guide your socket onto it, and then put the wrench on there. There we go. There's our other screw. Now, annoying part the second. This is loose, but absolutely everything is in the way of it actually coming out of the car. As you can see, I start to pull it straight out and I run into the firewall. So really the solution here just seems to be force. There we go, and out it is. And you can see here, this is the O-ring in question. It's sort of a molded in thing. And that, as you can see, it's not really sticking up anymore, probably not sealing. That is our leak. And then what you'll also want to do is you'll want to test this, make sure that there's no rattling or like looseness here. Make sure that this pin is solid. There's no wiggle in any of the axes. This isn't going to fall out. This is what falls out and will go into your engine. The other thing you want to do is this vacuum port that's open to atmosphere. Close this, put your thumb over that, and it should hold at about that angle. So this is a good DISA. Good DISA. Okay, so now I just got to take this O-ring out and grab my new one to put in. So after what felt like an eternity of scraping, I got most of that O-ring out. I think it's good enough. So now I've got my new one from German Auto Solutions in this box. Oh, okay. Okay, it's gonna play like that. All right, sure. Why not? La. An O-ring. Looks like it comes with some grease as well, so that you do not tear it when you're putting this back into the car. That's the good stuff there. We are all lubed up and ready to go back into the car. Gotta remember just the right angle that I used to get this thing out in the first place. There we go. That O-ring seat's good. Oh, that went in nice. Get bolt number the first started. Just gonna do that one hand tight to start with. There we go. These don't need to be torqued to like 1,000,000 foot-pounds or anything. Just a little electrical connector back. Intake tube back on. But that is good to go. I'll go put my tools in such a way, and then we can see what our fuel trims look like now. Oh, that is smooth. That is very smooth. If we go over here, look at that. Down to 10% and adjusting downward. That is a lot better than it was. I might still have a minor leak somewhere in the PCV system. Oh, but look at my MAF. Okay, so that was the other big tell. My MAF reading was way, way low. It was at like 3.2, 2.8 grams per second, and now it's back in the low 4s, which is really where it should be at a 700 RPM idle. So these are actually pretty healthy numbers now. Those fuel trims still a little questionable to me, but I might have to reset some adaptations and then just do a few drive cycles before that all settles down. What is hard to convey is just how smooth this is idling now. You can, like, just sitting here, not doing anything, I can barely, like, I can't tell the engine is running. It's that nice straight six smoothness, and it's all back. Nice. So now I can go get lunch, and then we can move on to the next thing to make this car much, much happier, hopefully. And then it'll treat me nice, like it should. Okay, so that is one more mechanical issue, hopefully solved for good. Now, moving on to cosmetic issues. As you can probably tell, this car has been rear-ended under the previous owner's stewardship. It has received a new trunk lid, which was repainted less than, yeah, not so great. But also it's missing this rear finish panel here, and it really just kind of looks like straight doo-doo. Now, I actually managed to find a new rear finish panel, and it's over here. Behold, a box and another box. I'm not actually sure what that one is. I don't know what the heck else I ordered, frankly. Brand new M-Tech 2 bumper. But now how does this go on? Because I'm assuming that some mounting points are a bit hosed due to, you know, being wrecked into. Let's see here, so we've got some clips. It's just screws from underneath. It's not too bad. Time to go check the stash. So, as it happens, I have a full box of just the right screws. Nice stainless steel too. Wow. Finally, this has been bugging the absolute heck out of me since I got this car. It looks so much more complete now, and that could not have been easier to do, really. I have no idea why it was totally missing in the first place. I guess it must have just cracked in half when the car was hit, but nice. Gosh, that's probably worth like 5 miles per gallon right there. This exhaust doesn't exactly look centered. That's kind of annoying. I'll have to do something about that. Anyway, on to the next thing. The last thing we're gonna do to hopefully keep this thing happy and being nice to me for a little while is we're gonna give it a bit of a clean. I have not cleaned this since I got it. I don't mean the outside. I have washed the outside. I never cleaned out the inside. Like I just kind of have been driving it. I never vacuumed it. I never took the previous owner's stuff out. So we're gonna do a bit of automotive archaeology here. And we're starting in the trunk mostly because that's where my tripod is and I need my tripod. Okay, let's see here. We have my my drying towel, which is probably dirty and needs cleaned. Oh, my scrubby sponge. BMW McKenna plate frame, but plate frames are garbage. More receipts. Taco Bell trash. More receipts. Got an old temp tag. More receipts. Old Texas plates, might keep those around. A half full bottle of antifreeze, definitely gonna keep that in here. It is a BMW after all. Random piece of plastic, rubber glove, more bulb trash. Yeah, all this looks like trash. Burnt out light bulb the first. Honestly, no idea what this is. Fuel pump O-ring? I have no idea. More gloves, long bolt, burnt out light bulb. The second, but a different type. This looks like it was a part of like a jump box or something. A bushing. Some leftover stuff from when I was doing the tail light replacement. We have some receipts. Ooh, one of the engine beauty cover pieces. These go missing all the time. Keep that around. I actually have a stash of these. I still don't actually have the hardware to hold the covers on the car, but I have quite a few of those beauty covers. Battery cover's all loose and has a twig in it for some reason. Random piece of wire. Oil pan gasket set. I don't remember if these are mine or if they came with a car, but a leather belt. The Buick's old valve cover with the hole in it. We've got a sticky note. Nice. That is a trunk anyone can be proud of, or something. Ah yes, the back seat of an E46 BMW. How practical. A Torx bit driver, T15, motorcycle helmet. Elliot Alvis's favorite thing. Every car needs an ice scraper, and this one's actually quite nice because it folds up. Ew, this floor mat is deteriorating. Receipt. Give your family a mosquito-free summer. Old insurance card, old temp tag, registration receipt thing, O'Reilly's, but again this time. How is this floor mat faring? Yep, just as bad. A receipt, shocker. What is this, a screw? Yes, a screw. A large bolt, BMW cigarette lighter, suction cup, okay. A little bit of fuel line, screw, parts for the carburetor, for the Goldwing motorcycle parts, my laptop bag. I am not good about cleaning this car out, apparently. A spool of solder, window switch, gasket for not this car, oil? Oh, this is for the supercharger oil for the Buick. Oh, this is part of the ashtray, and this is part of the PCV system that I replaced on the Buick. So, yep. I don't think I've ever sat back here. Well, definitely not perfect, but significantly better. Doesn't look like quite as much of a used car anymore. That's nice. This is the front of my E46 BMW. This is where I spend all my time, and I also have not really cleaned up here at all. Like, slightly worse condition cigarette lighter, one screw. Big shock, there's a receipt, and it's also filthy. Coin holder, which has nothing but garbage coins in it, USB Type-C cable, and OBD2 scanner, always necessary in a BMW, so I can see why my check engine light is on, except I know it's a P0420 and a P0430, but sometimes you just want to know if you've got other codes, I guess. Everything else is just kind of dusty. Let's see if the floor mats up front are doing the same as the floor mats in back. Yep, exact same thing. Old mask, more old mask, more old mask, more receipt, more receipt, more receipt. And this is the previous owner's stuff. We have an aux cable, really scungy, gross phone charger that I don't want to touch. Kleenex, wrappers, really junk broken pins, and a junk. This is not half bad for a car with almost 250,000 miles on it. This thing is pretty dang perfect inside. I mean, it's a pretty darn good example of an E46 interior. Yeah, I've never been in here when it's actually like clean and dusted, and a whole bunch of gunk came off of the volume buttons and the turn signal. Yet again, I thought the labels were faded. Nope, it was dirt on there, just like on the Buick. I'll learn eventually, but man, this thing is, I'm pretty impressed here, I gotta say. And hopefully, now that I've done this, the car will treat me just a little bit nicer. Except it won't, because I already filmed the next video, and I know that it doesn't! Thanks for watching.